It's other deities.
It's a deity, powers. Okay, hey. We left off page 40. Hey. In osa hatzitzios me'atzem ha'nechos b'kotzim she'atzon roptzim b'neiim. The sheep, they graze or they rest in the pasture, so the fleece gets caught on to the briar bush. So what happens? The fleece gets torn off. You want to pick fleece out of the briar bush, and you're going to spin it into thread. You have hairs which are pulled out of the animal. That after you do the warp and the woof, you have like strands which usually you cut off. Vatam, mitzvah. It's not because it's the quality of the fleece or the wool. It's bizarre. It's like from the scraps. This is what you do. This is what you use for a mitzvah. Here it goes the other way. We had that if a person wants to take a mantle and say it wears out, and you want to use it as a chair covering, or make a pair of pants out of it. Right. It's a bizoyan. I mean, is that what you make a pair of pants out of? Something that was used as the mantle for the Sefer Torah. It's bizoyan a mitzvah. Here it's going the other way. This was never used for a mitzvah. To use something which is usually considered scraps, remnants, nothing. That's what used for a mitzvah. That's not virgin.
No, I'm saying the other way around. What you want to use is the highest quality.
Well, that's what that. Here, it's not only the quality. This has no quality. This how it came about. How did it come about? How did it come about? But you see, from Ezekiel and Aveyu, the degrees. You could have neutral, and you advance, and you could have it so far below. It's a disgrace using it. This is like disgraceful. That's the way they answer Rashi and Sukkah. Rashi says that the heater by Esrog, it says possible, right? Let's see, you have an Esrog which is menumer, which is spotted. It's possible. Rashi says because Ezekiel and Aveyu. So those says Ezekiel and Aveyu was only a mitzvah, doesn't validate it. So the way they explain Rashi, and you see it from over here, it could be so below what Ezekiel is that it actually becomes invalidated because it's disgraceful. It's already it's so ugly. Tosis learns because the fruit is called pre-Eitz Hodor. It's not that's Tosis. But Rashi learns Ezekiel and Aveyu. Rashi says, okay. Ein osin afilu b'diavad posul. The others even b'diavad. It's not so simple. You know, there was a responsa written during the war. It was called Shas Shus Mimamakim. There was a rabbi. He was a rabbi in the Lower East Side. His name was Rabbi Oshri. He was in the Kovna ghetto, and he had all kinds of shilas asked. He had no svarim, and he ruled. There's many questions he couldn't answer. Right, the famous question, you give them so much money, they'll take 3 other Jews, and you could save your son. Changing lives. But there were questions. The Nazis, Yamach Shmam, they had warehouses of many things. Talesim, they stored it because they wanted to make this museum or whatever it is for this extinct people, right? So if you would steal wool from the Nazis and you want to spin thread for tzitzis, would that be considered gzela? It would be a question of mitzvah b'avera. These are the kinds of questions they asked during the war. So let's say during the war, in time, the only wool available is the fleece that you have to pull out of the briar bush. That's the only wool. Otherwise, you can't do the mitzvah tzitzis, right? So if you say it's not heater, okay, so it's not heater. Maybe in this context it would be heater, but over here Mishna Berura says it's possible to be evid. That because so therefore, what about in that circumstance? Yeah. Would it be possible to be evid? Same, we're not differentiating. It would still be possible to be evid. Still be. I'm saying.
That's all you have, though.
Doesn't make a difference. So you see, because it's not a question. You could get better. If you get better, that's where you take from.
It's a matter of puzzle.
It's a matter of what it represents. It's scraps.
Right.
You don't use scraps for a mitzvah, right? It's not because you could use better.
They know where the wool comes from today when they make tzitzis and laces?
Of course.
They just buy wool pieces to make tzitzis?
It has to be, they buy fleece, you know.
It's because
If you're a mashgiach for OU, you know, they'll send you to New Zealand. That's where they share the sheep. Australia.
Flour, the grain from
It's something else. Okay? You know, you don't have that much fleece in a briar bush. I mean, how much wool you need in terms of a person's in the manufacturing, okay? Sha'orig Meshayir, Ein Lahakshos Blavoch Yishposol, Nitva Achutin, Shem Tzitzis. What do we have to say? That the reason why it's possible is because it's a remnant, it's left over after it's woven. Additionally, the thread was spun for what? For the garment. It wasn't spun for what? For tzitzis. Meaning, the threads that you used to weave the garment originally were spun for tzitzis. Then they realized they don't need it for tzitzis, and they use it for weaving a garment. It's a disgrace. Save more cost vatam mishum bina hakonov min konov vein minimal lolu ruyim lasos ben beged shem psol satzemer. It's considered the inferior part of the wool. Vein beged nasiv mikomosa akan lashono. Kein kol mine tzemer shem gruyim. So he says, according to this, any inferior quality wool. She'ena beged nas, which it's so inferior, people will not make garments from that kind of wool. Psulim tzitzis. So see, this already would be based on the standard of living. Because they would, if you have no choice. Rashiv Zichron Baruch once told me that during World War I, people didn't have much, didn't have what to eat, they had nothing. So somebody had given him money, and they made him a suit. He was a teenager, out of burlap. And I understand that burlap, and he was like 15 years old. He prided himself. They did burlaps. You know what it looks like. It looked like you just came out of a cave with a burlap suit. But you know, when you have nothing to wear, and you have nothing to keep you warm, or whatever it is, you know, burlap is also something you pride yourself in. So it's all relative to, you know, where you're holding. Okay?
So you can't use the wool once you designate it as tzitzis wool. You can't use it. Let's say you decide not to use it for tzitzis.
Of course, we hold Tasmon Love Milsa. What happens if we had this? We're going to have the tefillin. You make a tefillin bag.
Yeah.
It says tefillin. You had your son's name embroidered on the bag, and you never put tefillin in the bag.
Right.
And now you're going to use it to keep your private scotch.
Right.
Right, David. Okay. It says David, whatever it is, private, whatever it is. Okay, you could use it. Not a problem.
Good.
Yeah, because the tefillin were never actually put in the bag.
Right, so
Designation alone doesn't give it that special value.
But I thought we just said
No,
that.
here goes the other way. Even though originally it was spun for tzitzis,
Right.
but since they use the thread for a garment, it's a bizoyan. It goes the other way. It's disgraceful to use now the thread that we used for a garment. Now the remnant, again, going back to the remnant.
Well, no, I thought we just said the other way. That we misunderstood that. If you start-
No, it goes like I'm explaining it. Okay? Im oso mitzemer gozel. Okay, this mitzvah above there. A person steals wool and makes a garment. Psulim. T'chsiv oso lehem mishalehem. Oh, over here it's something else. I mean, you could say it's mitzvah above avera. He says because the Torah says it has to be made of your wool. If it's stolen, it's not yours, right? So then we get involved. What about Yush? What about if the original owner, he despaired? And the person who purchased it, who stole it, sells it to a third party. We rule Yush and Shina Rishus, that if a person despairs, then you go sell it to a third party. So when it enters the third party's domain, he has no obligation to return it. He's permitted to keep it. Could he use it for tzitzis? So if the reason would be what the Mechaber says, he could. But if it's mitzvah b'avera, since the origin, it's already tainted, because it started with an avera, the origin, it's not simple, it's a question. We'll see. Hago. V'davko shegoz lachutim. Now, we speak of shinikona, right? What happens if you go and you alter the stolen object? So you acquire it. So he says, it's only if you stole the threads themselves, the strings. What about avalu gozel tsem of ason chutim? He stole the wool and he spun the wool into thread. That's shinoi. Okay? And it's what? It's not. It's a shinoi which is not chosel brioso. You can't. It doesn't revert back to its original. The Gemara says if you steal silver and you mint coins, it's not a valid alteration. Why? Because it could be resmelted. Resmelted, it could be restored to the bullion.
Why can't you unwind this chain?
It's not going to be fleece. He's still fleece. It's not. You can't restore it to fleece.
So it's kosher.
It's called, but he says l'chatchila os lasosan. Why? Because factually the origin was stolen. U'le'in brocha ein l'kamon. Brocha also, it's inappropriate. Reish simin tov reish mem tes. Okay, let's see the Mishna Berura. Lohem mishalem nira poshin v'uadinim lokach hatzitzis ba'kofo v'moche oil v'nofek azuzi. Yeah? What about a person originally buys strings on credit, and the seller keeps coming for his money, and the Zayn Rosh L'Shamlo, he keeps pushing off. The seller originally sold it with having in mind he's going to get paid. And the buyer originally said he's going to pay him, and the buyer keeps pushing off. He keeps coming, he says, come tomorrow. The Medina Einim Shalok, you hear this? The halacha is, that reveals that the seller never meant to sell it to such a person. Such a buyer is not a buyer. He doesn't intend to pay. People, they buy. When am I going to pay? Whenever. That's no buyer. That person's a thief. It's not a person, he bought, he wasn't going to pay, then he falls on hard times. There's certain people, they just put off their creditors. In certain businesses, there were people, they bought, let's say, goods, and they would always say, we're paying 80%. They're not paying the full amount. And after they receive the merchandise, now they're buying credit. And the seller is in the bind. Because if you want to keep the customer, or let's say he has you so deep in the hole, the buyer, you tell him I'm not selling, he says, I'm not paying what I owe you. So what do? He owes so much, he's already so deeply in the hole with this buyer, he says, I'm not going to sell you, the loss is not, so he strings him along forever. But what is the man really doing? He's a thief. He's a thief. We're saying because you're retaining something. If it's mektos, you have to return it. But he's not returning it. It is a mektos. The seller never intended to sell it to such a person. Mektos usually from the buyer's side. This is from the seller's side. If I would have known what kind of buyer this is not a buyer. The man's a thief. Okay? Let's see the Mesilas Yesharim.
Isn't it parshas that if you steal something, you cannot use it for a mitzvah?
What about if you sell, let's say the owner despaired and you sold it to a third party. So the third party legally, monetarily is permitted to keep it. Could he use it for a mitzvah?
Or if you change its form, you can.
Oh, you mean something that was stolen and the owner despaired?
Despaired, now that the thief sells it to a third party. So the third party is permitted to keep it, monetarily.
And that would be good for his tzitzis.
No, sir. Even there, it's not so simple. To say a bracha, he wouldn't be able to say a bracha on it. Although he'll be able to be able to see the mitzvah, but to say a bracha he would not because it's inappropriate. But he's speaking here, even the thief. Let's say he alters it, takes the fleece and
because then he takes ownership.
he takes ownership. He says that also. He says to be yotze, yes, but to say the bracha not.
Okay.
He's like the third party.
What about simply gift where the guy steals the lead, puts it in his house?
So that,
Now he wants to. Would this be the same thing? This guy has to unthread his whole sits in order to give back the thread.
that's not saying. There he has to destroy his life. Dismantling a house, that's called takonos meirish. Dismantling a house is not undoing the tzitzis.
Also a fetish.
What?
No, I mean, it says in the Gemara, but it's a fetish.
They had to make a special takona. Yeah, but the takonos meirish is not here. It's not. Depends on the circumstance. We left off on 18.